introduce our next speaker, I want you to give me a B. So in other words, we're going to, with our feet. Because people are marching in the U.S. right now, right? Okay. Right? Science. We're marching for science, right? Yeah. Courtney. It's all about the young people. All right. So give me a low rumble. Doing good. Remember, marching. Okay. Nikita Oliver. Seattle-based creative artist, anti-racist organizer. She's an attorney, holds a master's degree of education from the University of Washington. She's a writer in residence working with young people, especially those students working at or taking classes at Washington Middle School. She leads a writing workshop with Arts Corps at Garfield High School. She's an art teacher, case manager with Creative Justice. Nikita, in 2015, was the recipient of the Seattle Office of Civil Rights Arts Human Rights Leadership Award. We're still marching. Yeah. Winner of the 2014 Seattle Poetry Slam, the Grand Slam Champion Award. I think we're running at this point. The 2013, 2014, 2016 Seattle Poetry Slam Women of the World Poetry Slam Representative. She opened for Cornell West. We're running. We're sprinting at this time. And for Chuck D, Public Enemy. She performed on Late Night with Stephen Colbert. And recently she announced her candidacy for the mayor of Seattle.
Good morning, y'all.
Good morning.
If you would do me a favor, you just did that lovely march. If you would just close your eyes for a second, get your feet grounded, get your spirit grounded, find your gut. Usually, I would light some sage before I start something like this, but I found people don't like you to light things in their buildings. So I'm just gonna ask you to take a deep breath. Find the one thing that you haven't been able to let go yet this morning, and then breathe it out. And I want you to take another deep breath, a little bit past that one. Find another thing. Breathe it out. And breathe in just a little deeper past that. Find something you want to hold on to. And release your breath. Thank you. I like to clear space, so that for me is my sage. So I thank y'all for letting me clear space with you. I'm very honored to be here. I was born and raised in Indianapolis, Indiana, Midwest, to Richard Lee Oliver and Harriet Ruth Landrum. I am the descendant of white settler colonials and formerly enslaved Black peoples. I have an indigenous heritage that my family does not know a lot about. And I say that because I think it's important to know where people are coming from, what spirit and energy we're bringing to the table. I live in the Coast Salish territories, specifically on Duwamish land and White Center. And I want to acknowledge the place where I live and the first caretakers of that land. Woo woo. Love to our Native peoples. Thank you, Deborah Parker, for sharing your wisdom with us. I'm going to share a poem with y'all that gives you my history. And some of y'all might have heard it, but I believe that the place that you first have to speak out of is where you come from and who you are. And I want to ask you, now that we've had those breaths, y'all know A little bit about where I come from. If you would invite your ancestors into the space, those ancestors you're both proud of, and those ancestors you maybe wouldn't talk to if they were still alive, I want you to invite them all into the room because they all matter in terms of who you are and how you present in this space and what it means to be talking about racial equity and environmental justice, two things that are inextricably interlinked. And we have to acknowledge who we are and where we come from to actually have justice become fully manifested amongst us. So I'm going to do a poem about who I am. When I tell people I'm a boxer, they almost always ask me the same three questions. 1, do you get hit? 2, does it hurt? 3, but do you ever bleed? And I'm thinking, duh, it's boxing. But my mother raised me right, so I say yes. I get hit, and sometimes it hurts. And from time to time, I might even bleed. They go, because see, most people are afraid of blood. Most people live in fear of seeing blood. Most people are most afraid of seeing their own blood, so I tell them this is not the first time I've held my own blood in my hands. Watch my red droplets pool after a string of fighting words smash hard against my face. I'm learning boxing and life are really not that much different. My coach keeps telling me, Nikita, you gotta learn to keep your eyes up. But truth is, I still haven't learned how to keep my head up. So as coach cleans me up, I stare into the carnage, settled into the folds of my flesh, the looking glass of my family tree, and I think, dang, is this all that I'm made of? Now see, Muhammad Ali said, because yes, all boxers must quote the champ, Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali said, if they can make penicillin out of moldy bread, then they sure can make something out of me. So tell me, my blood, my body, what I'm made of, so I may know exactly what I could be made into. Spare me no record of wrongs that I might not become a broken record, repeating my family's history time and time again. Let me open every closet in this house, because I am sure there are more closets in this house for me to hide my own skeletons. Tell me about my mother's father, how he liked white sheets in the dark of night, his cross set ablaze and burning in the eyes of little girls who look no different than me, how he liked his bottle empty and his woman silent. Tell me about my mother's mother, how she filled up all of the empty and the silence, how she built herself up a broken home around my mama. Show me my mama. Little girl huddled on a floor beneath a roof too holy to shelter her from the downpour of belts and hands. Tell me about my father's father. Tell me a sharecropper story, a backbreaking work, and empty stomachs filled to the brim with Negro spirituals. Let me hear my father's mother sing our spirituals. She'd be like, waiting on time, just waiting on time, children. Can you hear her singing? How she raised her children up high above corn and cotton and taught them to flee before they could be plucked. Let me see the glint of promise in their eyes as their hearts beat hard against rubber, melted down, flexed to once again be plow and ox. Let me feel how cotton and plastic feel no different in your palms when your bootstraps still refuse to fit this so-called American dream. Please show me just one dream, how black and white have always been the making of a classic movie. Show me the stars in my parents' eyes when they found out they were having this sweet but sick little baby, and my mother finds herself again in a corner, but this time on a cot in a hospital alone, and my father, so used to fleeing danger, he cannot figure out how to stay firmly put. Teach me how to stay firmly put. Remind me I am a boxer, I am a fighter, that there is no rot or rust or mold that I cannot transform, that rot and rust and mold have been made into medicine. Remind me I am my own medicine, I am my own medicine, I am my own medicine. So you, who also have rot and rust and mold, you too are your own medicine. And together, we are the greatest medicine we could ever need. We are our own greatest medicine. Thank you. I appreciate that Deborah talked about stories. I don't think of myself as a poet or an artist or a performer, really. I think of myself as a storyteller. And I think of myself that way because in so much of my education, especially my formal education, I've been given every story except for the story about myself. And when we don't know ourselves, we cannot love ourselves. And when we cannot love ourselves, we cannot love other people. Cornel West says that justice is what love looks like in public. And if we don't love ourselves and we cannot love other people, then we're not going to be able to be just. We're not going to be just with each other. And so this next poem that I wrote is what I would have said to myself as a little girl if I were to go back in time and have a conversation with her. And it's done in the style of Jean Anderley. Unsolicited advice for a black mixed girl too light to be heavy but too heavy to be white. When the girl in your class fixes her lips to call your mother a nigger lover, fix her face. So the next time she thinks twice before ever wrapping her lips around anyone else's mama. When the children on the playground start singing, "Yo mama got jungle fever," join them. You've got to live to fight another day. When the school principal calls you into her office for fighting another day, tell her to call yo mama. When your mother doesn't answer the way you need her to, know it is okay to be angry. She will never understand what it is to be brown, but one day she'll come to see that light and white are not the same thing. When proper speech becomes an allegation, code switching an accusation, when sounding white and acting black become corners in your mouth you can no longer fight, bring them together. And these things are not in opposition, they are one and the same, beautiful. When your curly hair becomes fighting words, when your offbeat claps become inside jokes, learn how to pull your hair up quick so it does not get pulled. Learn how to laugh at yourself. Learn how to ball up your fist, how to furrow your brow, how to show them your fighting face. And also buy a Walkman. Y'all know what those are still, right? But seriously, buy a Walkman. Make mixtapes off the radio to practice your butterfly, Tootsie Roll, Harlem Shake. Perfect their rhythm for all these middle school dances and public exposures. When you start to feel lost, take a walk with your Walkman. Practice snapping, clapping, dancing to your heart's content, because therein lies the only beat that will ever really matter. Remember this beat when your black grandmother calls you white because you don't like grits. And your white grandmother calls you black because you ate all the greens. If you don't want to eat the grits, then don't eat the grits. If you're going to eat the greens, then eat all the greens. If you're going to eat them together, then eat them together. More importantly, if you're going to be what you eat, then be exactly who you want to be. Remember this when it seems like none of the white boys want to date you, and none of the black boys want to date you, but all the girls think because you're mixed with curly hair that all of the boys everywhere want to date you. Just say forget about it. Because the first man to kiss you will be Samoan, and the first woman will be racially ambiguous. It is okay to question the gaps in our human thinking and wonder why we put ourselves in these boxes. When your box becomes too small, get out. Too many of us are going to live to die a slow death. Remember this when you feel like the world has put your flesh on trial. It is okay to question the ways in which we put our flesh on trial. Do not feel guilty for acknowledging how we take these dry bones and we put our skin on them and we build tents where there are already holy temples. You, black mixed girl, be beautiful, holy temple. When too light to be heavy, when too black to be white, you be black light exposure of your own zebra stripes. You are never half of anything. You are always everything wholly you. And you've got to remember this. When the girl on the playground fixes her lips to call your mother a nigger lover, you could fix her face. Or you can furrow your brow. You can ball up your fist. You can show her your serious face. But more importantly, show her how seriously you love yourself by living to fight another day. going to do, I'm going to get a little more rappy with y'all. Is that okay? Y'all like hip hop? Okay, good. Then I'm with family then. If you said no, don't come talk to me. I'm just playing. I still love you. In November, I had the opportunity to go to Standing Rock for a week. And that was an honor. It's not something I take lightly, to be invited into indigenous movements, to be invited into Native spaces. And while we were there, the church came, the Christian church, and they repudiated the discovery doctrine, which in word is a beautiful thing, to say that this doctrine that made it okay to take land from the first peoples here on Turtle Island and to dehumanize them, to say this doctrine is wrong because it's what all of our property laws in the United States are built upon, is a powerful thing. What bothered me was there was no deed that went with it. We repudiated it in word, but we did not repudiate it in action. And that made me begin to really think about all the ways in which we talk about justice, but we don't actively live out justice. I went there to work with the Legal Collective because I was very fortunate to get to go to law school on a public service law scholarship for free. And so I've committed to, as often as possible, giving my legal services for free, because you should not have to pay absurd amounts of money to get something that you need to live. We live in a place of words. And too many people are kept out of having access to the system by a word game. I learned that word game, and I want to give that away for free. And so I went there to serve. And what ended up happening was, as almost always happens, right? I was actually served in the space. I received medicine. And Deborah talking about sleeping close to the ground. I remember that first night, so I went with a friend of mine. We had this tiny tent, like a very tiny tent. And we woke up in the morning, and the tent was covered in ice. And we were definitely on the ground. But it was the best rest I've gotten in months. And we did wake up to drumming. And we did wake up to storytelling. And we did sit around fires and just talk. Your cell phone didn't work, so you couldn't have your face up in the book of faces. And there was something very powerful about that. What hit me the most, though, was in law school we're taught that following processes is what will get us to justice. What I learned in law school is the law and justice are not the same thing. And I watched that at Standing Rock, where law enforcement protected corporations that did not have permits to be where they were, where law enforcement protected oil and money which you cannot eat or drink, over protecting sacred lands and water, which provide us with necessary medicine for life. And it just reinforced for me how important it is that we sit and we think about the things that we're allowing to be reinforced within ourselves. Because those officers at some level thought they were doing the right thing. And this goes back to self-love for me. If you truly love yourself, you can truly love other people, and you'll be able to do the just thing with, for, and by other people. And what saddened me most was realizing there were all these humans on the wrong side of things who have no love for themselves, so they have no love for other people. And I think when I left Standing Rock, there was a car accident, and a friend of mine was killed in the accident. And then the next day we get back and the Cheeto is elected. Sorry, I'm not great with paying deference to bigotry. And it just felt like we were... just felt like we were losing. And then I sat with a group of friends, some of whom were mourning the loss of our friend Aaron Kimino, and it came down to we have to move at the local level. We have to enact justice in the spaces that we inhabit. And we have to be willing to draw hard lines in the sand. And that is everything from how we interact with our environment to how we interact with each other. Today we're celebrating our mother, which is a beautiful thing, but we are literally raping our mother on a daily basis with the way we treat our planet. We cannot survive like that. And so justice for me is just us being just us, and that's what this poem is about. Let's go down to the river to pray, studying about those good old days, and who shall wear the golden crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, family, let's go down, don't you want to go down? Oh, family, let's go down to the river to pray. I can hear my auntie singing in the back row of the chapel. Baba looks down at me and she says, baby, justice is just us being just us, and justice is like water, and we like water too. She tells me that watch how water flows. Even when it hits a barrier, it will still change the terrain. It will move around, over, or through an object if it has to. Justice is just us being just us. You must move around, over, or through an object if you have to. Remember, baby, justice is like rain, like water from the sky. See how it starts at the top of the mountaintop, makes its way down to the valley below. See where it pools in the places where it is needed most. So let us go down to the valley below where the water pools, where the justice pools. Let's go down to the river to pray, she say. She say, justice is just us being just us. And without us, there is no justice. Without us, the system persists in its defiance, further dividing us from our divinity that is our unity with Mother Earth. Further dividing us from our divinity that is our unity with each other. Suddenly, that's when cash starts ruling everything around me. And you only see each other as property, as the man is improperly blocking these attempts for me to break free, selling off stock in my body. See, there can't be no fair trade agreements when black bodies and brown bodies are still sold as stocks and bonds, and jail cells sell out as politicians are building their wealth on these black and brown bodies, murdered extrajudiciously with impunity, not just locally but globally, by the hands who brought us here to work these lands, the same hands that will feed us back to these lands, the same hands that will try to sell us back our homelands, overprocessed and overpriced till we become underfed. But yo, we come from a resilient people, a powerful people. And we're still causing them too much trouble, causing them too much problems. So suddenly we become worth more dead than alive. And I'm wondering if anyone noticed that the natives are missing. Did anyone notice how the rivers around us run red like blood? Did anyone notice how they call this the land of the brave? But there are no more braves. Why isn't anyone telling this story? The rivers around us run red like blood. See, it's these politics, polytricks, mini-ticks, blood-sucking politicians with the only thing redder than their fangs is their blood-stained hands. Look at them, elbow deep down in the cookie jar. We call it capitalism. Who pays the toll for your feudalism? The 10% prosper on profits while the rest of us race to the bottom in chains and body bags to be buried much more than 6 feet under more fair trade agreements, where the only thing fairly traded is our rage against this machine, a machine that would have you and I believe we can never have enough. We can never be enough till we say enough is enough is enough is enough. See, we've always been enough. We've always had enough. There's always been enough for us all to have enough if we'd only share. Justice is just us being just us. And if justice is what love looks like in public, We must learn to love ourselves enough. Baba say, justice is like water. I'm learning love is much the same. Thank you.